In the year 2320, Jacob and his partner Max were contracted to transport shipments of medical supplies from Europa to Callisto, two satellite moons of Jupiter. After multiple successful deliveries, the United Jupiter Company, or UJC, had promised a payout for a final shipment that would be more than enough to allow the co-pilots of the UJC Charon to retire. Local news showed reports of the Outer Way, an alleged terrorist group that had been blamed for numerous attacks on civilians, most notably the recent viral outbreak on Europa. As the two-man crew conducted the final checks to prepare for the landing, they noticed a disturbance in the cargo hold. Jacob went to investigate and discovered that the Charon had been boarded by the Outer Way and its leader, Danny Nakamura. As he desperately tried to escape to the cabin and release the cargo into the deadly cold of space, Danny fired her pistol and destroyed the pressurized cabin in the process. Unable to regain control of the ship in time, Jacob and Max crash-landed near their final destination, the Black Iron Prison on Callisto. Unfortunately, Max was killed in the crash, and only Jacob and Danny survived. Almost immediately after impact, head of Black Iron Prison Security, Leon Ferris, recovered both of the survivors and incarcerated them without any due process, on the order of the warden, Duncan Cole. As Jacob was processed as inmate 532521, a biosensor was surgically implanted in the base of his skull without any numbing agents or pain meds. He awakened in his cell only to find that the entire prison was in shambles and had been overrun by mutated prisoners known as biophages. Now, before we go any further, I would like to bring a few hidden details to your attention regarding the setting and, of course, Jacob's role in the events that soon play out as part of the Callisto Protocol of Black Iron Prison. In real life, Callisto is the second largest moon of Jupiter. Interestingly enough, both Callisto and Jupiter have Greek or Roman counterparts in their respective mythologies. Jupiter is the Roman equivalent for the Greek god Zeus, who was infamous for his promiscuity, among other things. Callisto is the name of a nymph of Artemis who had taken a vow of chastity. Zeus, ever the cunning adulterer, fooled Callisto into sleeping with him, and she eventually bore their son Arcus, which will come into our story on Black Iron Prison before long. Another interesting detail is that the UJC Charon is named after the boatman who ferries the dead from the land of the living into Hades itself, the underworld of Greek mythology, and keep this in mind for later. Moments after Jacob left the confinement of his prison cell, he encountered an incredibly friendly inmate by the name of Elias, who had extensive knowledge of the prison's layout, security systems, and flaws. Having spent the majority of his life there, he dedicated his existence to leaving this horrid place once and for all. With the help of Elias, Jacob was able to identify a prisoner that could help them escape. However, this individual was located in the SHU, which served as the maximum security unit for the most dangerous inmates. Once they arrived at the SHU, Jacob realized that the inmate was none other than Danny Nakamura, the Outer Way leader who had sabotaged his cargo delivery and crash-landed his ship. Reluctant to join forces, Elias and Jacob made their way to a pressurized hangar, but they were ambushed by Ferris, who seemed to have the unique trait of maintaining his mental faculties despite his apparent infection. The sadistic Ferris released the lock, and Jacob and Elias were propelled into the harsh, blistering cold of Callisto. Sadly, Elias did not survive the attack, and Danny mercilessly ripped out his implant to gain access to his knowledge of the prison's layout. Danny and Jacob revisited the Charon's crash site to confirm her initial suspicions that Jacob was smuggling biological weapons from Europa to Callisto, but only found medical supplies. The duo eventually made it to their destination and signaled an incoming ship, but before it could safely land, the warden remotely activated the prison's ground-to-air defense system and shot down the unsuspecting ship, which caused it to wreck directly into the base, hurling Jacob and Danny into the depths of the moon. From the ashes, the two discovered the ruins of Arcus, Callisto's original colony. After some exploration, Jacob and Danny realized that Arcus was the site of an outbreak and subsequent eradication, courtesy of the UJC, and that the Black Iron Prison was built upon its rubble to cover up the horrific events. Further exploration revealed an even darker truth. When Callisto was being terraformed, the original mining colony discovered an enormous alien that lived deep within the ancient caverns of the moon. During this miraculous discovery, the security team had killed the beast, and soon after, any individuals who had close or direct contact with the alien began to show inexplicable symptoms. These individuals eventually lost their sanity and became incredibly violent, mutating into grotesque beings in the process. These were the first biophages. Scientists soon realized that although the deceased alien was of little value, it had countless larvae within it that were capable of altering human DNA. The UJC, ever the opportunistic profiteer, saw potential in these effects and set up a research facility. The Black Iron Prison would serve two purposes: to cover up the extermination of the Arcus colony and, more importantly, to provide an endless source of readily available test subjects. However, the UJC did not act solely of its own accord. In fact, a cult known as the Commonality was pulling the strings from the shadows. This group had secretly been in control for hundreds of years and consisted of anonymous, yet incredibly powerful and well-funded individuals who believed that it was their duty to guide and direct the fate of humanity by means of forced evolution. Essentially, due to their earthly origins, mankind was never truly suited for space travel and extended exploration. The Commonality saw this as a weakness and viewed the galaxy as the future. With the help of this alien DNA, they sought to overcome these perceived flaws and grant humans the ability to become more suited for the great expanse of space. Subject Zero was the first biophage to show promise. He was the only one to retain his sanity and intelligence, while his body underwent the mutations that granted him increased strength and resilience. Despite the fact that he was killed during the Arcus outbreak, all future research was based upon his potential. The goal was to create a Subject Alpha that would mark the next stage of the advancement of the human species. Ferris would serve as the Warden's Alpha, and he attacked Jacob and Danny after their discovery. During their escape, Danny was infected and eventually the two were captured by security bots and returned to their cells. Dr. Marler contacted Jacob and informed him that she could save Danny with his help. So she guided him back to the medical facility and revealed that the Warden had orchestrated the Black Iron Prison outbreak in an attempt to carry out the Callisto Protocol, a scenario that would recreate the conditions necessary to expedite the forced evolution of mankind in hopes that Subject Alpha would be born. Duncan Cole believed that this type of process could not be performed in a controlled lab, but rather in the chaos of the wild. The mutagenic properties of the biophages would naturally produce the desired results. It seemed that his hypothesis was correct, and this motivated Jacob to end it now more than ever. Dr. Mahler instructed Jacob to gather a sample of the Alpha's DNA so that he could synthesize an antidote for Danny. Before he left, the doctor synced Jacob and Danny's implants and their memories were shared. Danny had not been responsible for the incident on Europa. In fact, the UJC had accidentally released a less potent version of the virus and used the Outer Way as a scapegoat. Jacob's memories returned, and he remembered that he was indeed aware that the Charon had been transporting biohazardous materials and turned a blind eye in return for his payments. His ship's name could not have been more fitting, as he was ferrying death itself back and forth between Jupiter's moons. Jacob confronted Cole, who welcomed him to aid the Commonality's vision, but he declined. Ferris, aware of his purpose, faced off with the unlikely hero and was defeated in an epic battle. Jacob extracted the Alpha DNA and administered the antidote to Danny. Cole, revealing himself to be a hologram, activated the self-destruct sequence and the duo ran towards the escape pods. Unfortunately, there was only one pod left, and Jacob forced Danny inside, but not before slipping her a larva sample that could be used to lift the veil on the illegal activities of Black Iron Prison. Jacob accepted his fate and took out the remaining biophages with his last bit of strength. As he sat down, ready to die, Dr. Mahler suddenly appeared via a hologram and told him that there may be one final chance of survival. Jacob was ready to hear her out, but suddenly, Ferris leapt from the shadows to finish the fight between Man and Alpha. Now, it's only a matter of time before we discover who emerged victorious, as the DLC story content will come out next year. And that's all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and until next time, it's the Inhuman One, signing out.